Hey guys, all right, we're going to start with a fun video clip and let's see what you think. Let's get started.
Things I really like.
Okay. Before we get started, any allergies?
No allergies, but a few things I really like.
Okay, tell me right now.
Yeah, tomatoes and onions.
No problem at all.
And then cheese.
No cheese.
And bread.
No bread.
Salt.
Salt, okay. Well,
Pepper.
that's a few things, but we'll get rid of
Yeah,
that.
garlic.
Pepper, garlic, consider it
Yeah,
gone, mate.
yeah. And things that are hard.
Hard, okay.
Things that are soft.
Yeah.
Hot, that's no problem. Soft as a doner.
And that's it. Excuse me?
Hi.
Yeah, I just got a little complaint.
Tell me.
It's a little bit too noisy in here, I think.
Really? God.
Yeah, the other tables are speaking a bit too loudly. Do you mind telling them to be quiet?
I'll see what I can do. I want everyone to have a nice time.
Yeah, I know they are speaking at like a normal volume.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just too loud because I've got sensitive ears.
Well, thanks for letting me know. I'll see what I can do.
Sorry, you're speaking quite loud as well.
Get with me.
So you get the basic gist of it. I mean, yeah. And specifically, I play this for you because you are in the hospitality space, And the thing is, though, one thing I would say to recognize about that particular customer and then, the staff member that was helping them is that no matter what he did, you couldn't make him happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I would say in that hospitality space, that's a complex issue because as somebody who dines and goes in, it's like, okay, we have a certain kind of perspective, but then seldom, unless you've worked in that space, you're not really thinking about what the other side thinks.
For sure. Yeah. I think there's a lot of reality in that. And obviously there's a reason that content exists. Mm-hmm. Setting guest expectations is something that we are constantly dealing with. Mm-hmm. These requests about all of these allergies. Absolutely. Tell me your allergies. I want to keep you alive. I promise you.
You should know. Exactly.
That is a real thing. But I mean, there does come to a point where you have to kind of deal with what restrictions the kitchen can physically handle. I mean, our goal at the end of the day is to almost always say yes. Mm-hmm. My job is to make your time with us wonderful. So we want to say yes.
Yes.
But sometimes there's creative ways we can say no too.
The almost say yes. And I feel like that's where we want to delve into.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
Almost yes. Because you kind of start to kind of cross this, or at least there's a blurred line,
Mm-hmm.
You can very easily cross it, And so essentially that is our topic for today, guys. Welcome. We have a really fun guest today. Welcome to Alia & Co., the podcast where we talk about complex things and we break them down and we make them simple. So our subject, soft skills, because soft skills for people that are dining, soft skills for people that are servicing those individuals, but also I think by extension into the world, I think soft skills are definitely something that are extremely important. Yeah. And so guys, our guest today is Aidan Descourouez.
Hello.
Aiden, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Aidan Descourouez. I have been in the hospitality space, at least in the fine dining space, for just a little bit over 9 years. I've kind of worked through a whole bunch of different aspects in the hospitality sector. My first restaurant job ever, I was technically a line cook at Noodles Company back when I was 16 years old. Did 2 years of that. Had a fun time, but realized that back of house was not always my personal skill set. Mm-hmm. From there, when I was 18, I happened to have dinner at a wonderful steakhouse called Swift & Sons in the West Loop of Chicago. I fell in love with it, and I said, I want to work here. Applied the next day, got hired on as a server and then as a host. Got lucky enough to meet the ownership of the restaurant group. And I very confidently at, 19 years old, told them that I wanted to run one of their locations. Uh-huh. And they kind of laughed it off, joked around with me a little bit, but that's
where you start.
Exactly. That's fair. You got to start, right? And they invited me to the corporate office to see where my head was at. I told them I was interested in finance. They gave me a starting entry-level position in the accounting department while I moved into serving. Mm-hmm. And then I switched over to becoming a manager. Mm-hmm. I was a manager at the Hoxton Hotel for the first couple of years. So opening team there, became the general manager of Lazy Bird. Mm-hmm. And now I've switched back over to our corporate team and oversee guest experience for the entire portfolio for BOKA Restaurant Group.
And also, in terms of hospitality, you're also in the tech space.
Yeah, that is true too. Over the last couple of years, I've become really passionate about understanding the relationship between hospitality and tech. I think our market right now is incredibly hot. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see all these different big players kind of jumping in. Obviously, you have the Visa Open Table partnership, Resi Amex, and them acquiring Tox. So there's a lot of action and a lot of focus on the hospitality space, especially from the tech side, simply because we haven't been investing in it. Restaurants have been running the same way for pretty much forever. The largest change we ever did was like switching to like online books instead of just writing everything with pencil and paper. So I think there's some really good areas for the tech space to jump in and kind of expand and grow what we're doing in the hospitality space.
I love it. And I want to definitely delve into that a little bit further because I think that there's so much that we need to cover. First off, based off of your experiences, being a line cook, back of house as opposed to front of house. Explain those. What's the difference?
Yeah, for sure. So back of house. Back of house or BOH is typically anybody who is primarily focused and working in the kitchen. So this is your entire chef team and chef leadership and through. So at the very top, talking with an executive chef or a chef partner to a chef de cuisine, all the sous chefs, chef de partie, different things of that nature. And then you get to the line cooks. So the line cooks and like prep cooks are doing the majority of, especially in like fine dining, it's a lot of knocking out all of the prep for the space, all of the actual consistency of making dishes. The big goal for being a line cook is to do something exactly the same every single time. And the chef team above that kind of manages and makes sure that those things are going out. Because if I have a dish one day, it should taste exactly the same if I come back next Thursday. So for me, really learning that small attention to detail, even at a place like Noodles Company, and I mean, even more so because it should taste the same at this Noodles as it does, in Wisconsin or a different state. So focusing on those small details and making sure that you're getting measurements correct and you're getting things like that. Yeah. And then
if that filet o fish tastes different.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Extra tartar sauce. But yes. Totally.
And then front of house on the other side is typically your servers, your bartenders, your front of house management. So that's general managers, maitre d's, service managers, service directors, food and beverage directors. So the people who are generally interacting in person with the guests who are in and dining with us. And that's a big thing for us too. Something that I've always been taught is for us in the hospitality space, they're never customers, they're guests. Yeah. We want to welcome you in. We want to bring you into our home. So that's kind of like the two different teams, but those expand rapidly. And then of course you get into like corporate scale systems. Those just go and go and go and go and go.
Yeah. And I would say just like at least seeing all of the different spaces that you've been in, experiencing the back of house hands-on experience where I'm sure that the rapport that you have with the people that you're working with is also sensitive. And I'm sure that there's a lot of nuance that is kind of required to navigate that space. But on top of that, for somebody in the back of house, also interacting with somebody in the front of house, where they also have to deal with each other, but not just that, they have to deal with customers, basically. And so I think that, and I would say what I hope for people to get out of this experience, not everybody has worked in the hospitality space. Yeah. And
I think everybody should.
I think that 100%.
One time.
100%. I definitely think that that's super important because, maybe she'll kill me if I say it, but my daughter basically decided to become a host at Maggiano's shortly after COVID, right? And, I'm her mom, just a little bit of headbutting sometimes, but I noticed within 3 days of work at the hostess stand, that attitude went, it was gone, basically. It was gone.
Yeah, the host stand is no joke. The host stand at restaurants, I will say it over and over, and maybe it's because it's something that I directly focus on in my role now is first impressions and those sorts of things, but the host stand is one of the absolute most important spots in the entire restaurant. Okay. You're controlling the flow of money. You're controlling how many people I can seat. I'm controlling how the servers are being sat. I'm controlling pacing. And generally this position, I think we need to do more for hosts. Personally, this is my own opinion looking at restaurant groups because the position is usually filled by some of the most junior members of a whole restaurant team, but they are also tasked with one of the hardest tasks, dealing with that first initial approach. I don't have a reservation. I need a reservation now. Well, I don't have anything till 10 p.m. So working through that and figuring out how to politely say yes, but say no, like you mentioned earlier, is one of those incredibly important soft skills that is one of the things that's incredibly hard to teach, but it is incredibly important for the door to learn.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So, you've got back of house, front of house, then also, being in corporate spaces, but also being in different kinds of environments. Like you worked at Lazy Bird, which is a lounge, and I'm sure
Yes.
that has its own dynamic, but then also working at a hotel, and that's like a very different level. And they have different aspects of hospitality that really come into consideration that might not be in those other spaces. Then moving into the corporate spaces where those interactions are also very nuanced, because
For sure.
maybe you're now dealing with certain kinds of clients that there's a certain tier, right? It could be corporate sort of partnerships, or even the VIP guest relations are bringing in massive amounts of business in that regard. So is there something that is a general theme that you have noticed in all of those different experiences where soft skills basically translated? There's like one aspect of it that just translated across the entire kind of.
Yeah. I think the thing that kind of translates across everything, and a key piece about soft skills and the hospitality space, you can talk to pretty much anyone in this profession. You are in this world because you love the world of hospitality and you have this extra little touch. You can teach anybody numbers. You can teach people, how to do math. You can teach people how to pour wine, but that actual human connection piece for sure is the most important thing, from being, on the line, being to understand what chef wants, what the guest wants, from that to being a server, physically interacting with the guests, seeing them face to face, being a manager who's doing the error recovery, being able to see that as another human, listen with empathy for your team and what they're saying and for what the guest is also saying, taking that in and going with it. And then, of course, as you scale it up to the corporate level, making sure that everything still feels personable, especially in restaurant groups such as BOKA, that is, as large as it is today. You want to make sure that it feels hospitable across the whole group, and you have those same sorts of touches. So I manage a client list of around 400 plus guests who I personally oversee. And if they're out dining, I'm going to do my best to be like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I'll come to the restaurant that night just to come greet you, shake your hand, check in on you. If it's a first date, this is one of my personal favorite things too.
All right.
If it's a first date for any of our VIP clients, sometimes they'll text me and I'll go over and stop the table and be like, oh my gosh, man, it's so good to see you. Where have you been? Stand him up, pat him on the back. It gets him so many points off the bat. And I know he's always going to keep coming back to me simply because of those one-on-one interactions and really investing in the people who you are meeting. So I think at the end of the day, it's just focusing on people. We are in the industry of people. And as long as you care about them, it kind of matches across the whole thing.
I think what my question would be, hospitality in itself, like you mentioned, that there needs to be a certain desire to want to serve, and help. I think that there are certain cultures that are very big on hospitality. A lot of cultures in the Middle East where it's like, like the Persian culture, for example, the way that I was taught. Yeah. Basically, it's like if you go to somebody's house, they need to offer you that item 3 times before you can say yes. So the first time they bring you like a big watermelon, you're like, you want some? And it's like, oh, no, thank you. The second time it's like, oh, would you want some? No, it's okay. It's all, the third time is like, okay, I'll have some, so it's like, but the thing is though, like there's a measure of, even so far as to if you have a guest that comes into your house, they basically, the host will serve, they'll take their plate and they'll serve them because they know that the guest might be too shy to take the food. Yeah. So I feel like there are so many different nuances when it comes to hospitality in general. Like you might, if you go to some Bedouin tribe or something like that and you say no to the tea, they will be like offended.
Completely offended, yeah.
They will be offended. So like at least the level of hospitality that you're seeing, within these different spaces in the U.S. or any, just your restaurant spaces. What are you seeing? Like, what kind of love for hospitality does one need to have? Like, is it? Well, can you describe that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different aspects in like what you're doing, right? And the love and the hospitality piece. I think once again, if we're looking at back of house, it's really the love of the craft and the response that you're getting from people after they are enjoying a meal that you created. It's one of, the most basic things as human is eating. When I travel, what do? You go somewhere else and you eat something else. Like it's so.
Yeah.
I think getting that enjoyment, and that's kind of like their little touch on hospitality. That's the little piece that they have to already enjoy is enjoying their craft and enjoying the satisfaction that their craft brings. Now on the server side or the bartender side, now I mean you kind of mix in a little bit more sales to it. I think being personable is one of the hardest things to teach. And it honestly kind of just, the more you are out in public, the more you're talking to people, the easier it gets. The want is to be there to make people have a good time. So the people who I am looking for, I don't want to use, I guess, the word people pleasers, but people who get satisfaction from watching other people have a good time. And that's like the piece that I feel like, at least on the server and the bartender side, I mean, yeah, of course, money's a motivator too.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is a key thing. And then on the managerial or corporate or like leadership side of thing, some of the biggest fulfillments that I would personally get, obviously, I get to witness the most important moments of people's lives, from, people get engaged, anniversaries, weddings. I get to get a little sneak peek of that. I get to step into a window and see everything that they're doing and they're enjoying. And then we also get to see those incredibly somber moments. We host, wakes, we do funerals, like different things of that, celebrations of life. And you get to really kind of peek into this window and either recover or make somebody feel better or cheer them up. And I think those are the little wins that I have always found the most fulfilling.
Oh, I mean, even with kind of these sad, more somber experiences, people still remember.
Yeah.
They still remember you, that you were there at that time where they needed you.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really beautiful. I want to kind of get into something a little bit more, not say controversial, but a little bit. But, I would say the topic of it is, because perhaps maybe if I could word it the right way. Well, it's like, because typically people think that those individuals that might be working in these kinds of service industries where you might be, like a waiter or waitress or a busboy, it's not because you really wanted to do it. It's because sometimes you had to do it, versus, I mean, I have a friend who's a software engineer that just was like, I really like being a waitress. So it's like, there's certain kinds of people that have a certain enjoyment out of it, and then a certain amount of kind of like necessity, right?
Oh, for sure.
But when it comes to that aspect of like, certain tiers of restaurants, like certainly if you're working at, a fast food chain or something like that, maybe the training in terms of hospitality is at a different level. Whereas when you have like larger restaurant groups, there might be a certain level of, hey, this is what our caliber of hospitality looks like, and everybody has to execute in that manner. Is there a certain kind of training that you receive in those kinds of ways?
Yeah, there definitely is. I now find myself on the other side of that, actually doing a lot of the trainings these days for BOKA. So that's pretty cool, but there is definitely a spectrum there. But you can even compare, fast food chains to fast food chains without, I guess, jumping out or pointing conclusions. I mean, you can go to a place like Chick-fil-A where it's, thank you, you're welcome. Everything is so done Southern. Up that way. It is, the Southern hospitality, right? Like, but it's overly have a good rest of your day. They have those sorts of key metrics that they're responsible for doing. Yeah, well, that's true too. But and then it's focused on doing those sorts of things, where you have other ones where it's a little bit more lax. I'm not going to point out any negative examples. But in the more like fine dining luxury space, the nice thing is some of the things that you were talking about there too, I think is a key thing. Is there's a lot of people who, like you mentioned, the software engineer who just enjoys serving, especially when you're talking about these fine dining places, these high-end places. A lot of these servers and bartenders are the absolute master of their craft, right? They are lifetime servers. I know servers who have incredible resumes working, and they just check off like the best restaurants in the world. We have a wonderful server over at BOKA who was at BOKA, so our 1 Michelin star flagship for BOKA Restaurant Group. But prior to that, he was at 11 Madison Park, which was, named the #1 restaurant in the world, 3 Michelin stars over. He has created different hand signals and different things in the restaurants that are used almost globally and universally.
The universal language.
Yes, there is a universal restaurant language. A little bit. There's some signs and things in there.
About it, But before
so there is a real passion, a love for it, and they're performing at these incredibly high levels. You wouldn't I don't want to say you wouldn't have the same person at each location, but these super high level servers, they love being around people and they're incredibly talented at it. You can ask these servers, where did you get the salt from? And they'll tell you the location, this, that, the other thing. You get into wine, right? What region, what grape, what type of vine, like all of those sorts of things. To the high level of it, people are incredibly invested in doing it.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of the positions do generally start as a necessity. Hey, I need money. Hey, I'm in college. Hey, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And it's a way to pay the bills. But if you get really, really good at it, especially in the sales, so servers, bartending, there's a lot of decent money to be made in those fine dining scenes like that too.
But also, I think at the end of the day, it's an experience,
Yes.
right? You and I have had conversations where, it's like if you do something, you would pay to do it anyway. Why don't you just do it anyway?
Why not do it anyway?
It's like if you enjoy something, you know. But the thing is, though, like kind of circling back to what you were talking about, hospitality and different levels of training.
I'm sorry, I didn't even answer the training question of that.
Well, that was kind of an offshoot of what you were talking about, which I'm like, there's so many different things that you're saying that I want to come back into. But let's tell us about the training. What does that look like?
Yeah, so the training, it kind of goes into a handful of different spots. So, I mean, yeah, you have your basics of this is how we treat our guests. When they come in, we want to say hello. When they call us to make a reservation, hello, good evening. This is Aiden speaking. How may I assist you? And then at the end, have a good rest of your night. We look forward to hosting you. So like those little pieces of verbiage.
That made me feel very special.
Well, I'm glad. That's the point. So when you call into the restaurant, that should be your first interaction because you're going to start thinking about your dining experience from the time you book it to the time you leave. And there could be a million of different things that happen between there to the end of it. So the training pieces, we talk a lot about verbiage. How do we say things nicely, or we say things in a certain way that we make sure that everybody still remains happy? So training can be broken down into a handful of different spots. Like if you're the door, a lot of the things that you're doing there is you're managing those expectations when somebody walks in. We have restaurants in our own group. There are plenty of restaurants that you book a 7 p.m. reservation, but you're realistically not expecting to be sat till 7:15, 7:30, just because that's how they manage their books. So what you need to have is somebody who is incredibly good at talking at the front door. So you hire a rock star maitre d' who is kind of a bit of like the show, the performance at the front door. You come in, you check in, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. We are excited to have you in. It's going to be about like 10 to 15 minutes. If we push back those like 15 minutes, then that same maitre d' is going to remember, okay, I know who this person was. Let's go get them a glass of bubbles. Let's, thank them for their patience. Once they get sat, sometimes the maitre d' will even do it themselves. Bring them over to the table. We're going to drop off a little dish. Thank you so much for your patience. So you have to get somebody who is super good at talking and setting expectations when people come in.
Is a maitre d' the same as a host?
So a maitre d' is typically they're on the host team. Okay. Usually they're leading the host team. So sometimes it's a manager position. Sometimes it's more of like a supervisor position or a lead host position. But usually their job is the show and the performance and is that sort of conversation. But they usually also have the final say of what's going on in the books. Okay. So VIP guest walks in the door. They don't have a reservation. The maitre d' will be just like, yes, let's take it. Let's run with it. I'll figure this out.
Right.
It's a lot of, at least the term that I like to use is kind of educated gambling when I'm looking at the books.
Interesting. Educated gambling.
That's how I like to refer to it. That's how I like to teach our hosts of, I see I have like 30 minutes free. Can I sneak a 2-top in and overlap like 2 other tables by like 10 minutes? And I know that I'll have some tables that will sit for the whole hour and a half. I'll have some tables that will only sit for an hour. So it's making the educated guess of, okay, if I can turn these faster, I can get more guests in, more covers in, more sales in.
That's so funny. So when you see or somebody in that position, if they would see somebody, they'd be like, "Oh, this person is going to eat slow." So they look like a slow eater. So or somebody that's like, "Oh, they're just kind of inhaling the food and they're going to be gone." Like, can you tell?
You definitely can tell. So I mean, you can make educated guesses on that. Now, you do have hosts that will be going around on the floor doing updates. So you'll see hosts walking around with an iPad a lot of time, and they'll be tracking, okay, they are on an entree, they are on a dessert, they are on an appetizer. If I see a guest who, skipped an appetizer and went straight to entree, I know that table's not going to be there for the full hour 45. So I go, okay, they're going to turn quicker. I might not always be right, but I can make an educated guess and say, I think I can sneak 2 more guests in. Not all restaurants have spaces for additional guests every night. Some restaurants prefer to book their book solid, and they'll still try to sneak people in.
Interesting.
So the training on there is really understanding the information you have in front of you.
Right.
And then being able to communicate it in a nice, fun, hospitable way to the guest.
Yes.
And then on like the servers and bartender sides of things, yeah, absolutely. It's how we talk to a table. It's how we approach the table. There are tons of little details, which, we could spend hours talking on, like what are the appropriate ways to do dining? Where does the knife land? Where does this land? When do we pour water? But there is SOPs in place. There are instructions in place. And each restaurant is a little bit different on what sort of service they like. For me, one of the things I always look at where I can kind of gauge levels of hospitality, or I know if they've been like talking about it or things that they're focusing on, is where, my water is sitting in my glass. At what point in time does a server assistant or a server come over and refill my water? My rule of thumb is if I'm ever sitting right at 50%, somebody should already be topping it back up.
Oh.
It's about thinking ahead for what the guest wants or the guest needs. Same thing with a cocktail.
Yeah.
If my cocktail is, 3/4 of the way done, as the server, for me to get additional sales, but also so the guest doesn't have any lag time or waiting time, I should be already offering them another drink when they're 3/4 of the way down, so I can place another drink order, get that working, and by the time they finish this last quarter, wow, there's a brand new glass in front of me. And now it just continues moving everything through. You have a more seamless experience as a guest, and the server gets an extra sale. So it's about making those sorts of jumps of heads of taking care of those things that you haven't even thought about yet, or things you haven't asked for. Or let's say I overheard you talking about, I really want to try the hummus, but the rest of your girlfriends, are like, no, let's just start with the salad. Me as a server, at most fine dining places, I have a allotted amount of budget that I can gift things, right? And if I like you and you're being nice to me and you're being personal, well,
God. How much is this budget?
well, the budget depends restaurant to restaurant. A lot of places you do still have to ask your manager, but
how much is your budget?
It once again changes.
They
Changes.
should not say anything. I feel like from a business standpoint,
From a business standpoint, yeah, it changes.
But that's me.
But yeah, if you're talking about things that I noticed, well, she said she really wanted to try this, I might just send it to the table anyways. I make you happy, I make your guests happy, and there's a more likely chance that you'll come back to see me. And if you really liked me as your server, now, besides the restaurant just having a guest who is coming back to see them, now I have somebody who's coming back to see me. So it's kind of those little pieces of how can I send a little love? How can I make this better? Can I put your name on there? You mentioned your birthday. I'm going to find a candle on your cake if I can. So it's all those sorts of things of just making those human touches incredibly important and impactful.
Yeah. And that's so funny that you mentioned that because, well, first off, in terms of hospitality in general, I mean, I know that we're talking about restaurants, but hotels included too. There is an individual that I know that is pretty, got a great position at Hyatt, right?
Yeah.
And I was asking because the thing is, though, when you go to, a nice hotel, right? If you've been to like a few, they all start to kind of seem the same,
Sure.
right? Because how pretty can you make it, right? You go to a lot of pretty places, I feel like our things look good.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what really makes a hotel stand out is how they treat you there.
Oh, absolutely.
The hospitality. I mean, she went so far as to, because I was, like, what's the difference between, say, some X hotel and say, a 5-star hotel that, so, and she was mentioning that it's the level of training when it comes to hospitality. Yeah. So far to speak as to kind of like, even when you're at a super high-end hotel, you never feel like anyone that you encounter that works there has like an awkward smile or like a fake smile, like
Yeah.
they're trying, like, I made eye contact. Now I have to look at you. So basically she was saying is like they have either, is it a 5-second or 10-second rule? No,
Yeah.
10 seconds before you see somebody,
Yep.
you start to look at them.
Yeah.
And as you start to walk by at the 5-second mark is when you start to smile.
Oh yeah, that is a real thing. Like and same thing, 10-second, 5-10 feet. Same thing we do here. Like if I see you,
Yeah.
and you are 10 feet away from me, but you're not audibly, close enough for me to say hello,
Mhm.
I'll recognize you. I'll look up with you. I'll like make a nod. I'll smile in your direction. But if you're close enough to say hello, I should be saying good evening. I should be saying welcome. Or if I recognize you, welcome back. Those sorts of
Interesting.
pieces. So that's absolutely something that we
What if
train all the restaurant teams
What
on.
if someone's a little bit like unpleasant?
Well-
And you say something to them
Well,
and they're like, "Ugh," I'm not like, they won't acknowledge it. Like, is it, because I feel like as a human being, that's like the biggest thing where it's like, oh, I'm trying to engage with you. It's like stand up, right? Like you go up there and you know that something might happen that's not great, right?
Yeah.
Like they could just not, or heckle you off the stage or something like that. So like, I feel like there's a certain level of vulnerability that's there too.
Oh, for sure.
How is it something that's taught, like how to handle that?
If we're talking specifically on some more difficult guests,
Mhm.
or as we typically like to say, HWC, so handle with care.
Ah,
That is like
that's such a
hospitality.
pleasant
lingo.
way of
It's
saying
handle
it.
with care. It's very hospitable.
Okay.
It's yes, the servers, the bartenders typically know how to manage these sorts of situations, but really the primary role of management is to make those even easier for them. So who's getting the immense amount of training on it? We, for managers, like we go through like de-escalation training, different things like that. Of course, the venue changes. So working in a nightclub, jazz bar is very different from doing like a white tablecloth sort of service.
Right.
Yes, they both have issues, and yes, of them have error recoveries that can occur.
Mhm.
But the things you have to handle in each space is a little bit differently. So luckily, most of the time, the training on that, there is a lot of that kind of pushed into all the different managers, and it kind of climbs up the chain. So realistically, the general manager should be, a whiz at mixing words, making things feel right, recovery, even if it's incredibly hard, or sometimes even if you have to kind of take it on the chin a bit. A lot of that does get switched over. If there is a guest who I know needs a little bit more care, a little bit more attention, typically, if like I will already know to go touch that table,
Mhm.
go gauge the temperature. When they come in, I will go swing by the table and be like, yeah, how's it going? Good evening.
Yeah.
It's completely possible that the last time that they came to our restaurant, that they were just having the worst day ever.
Yeah.
They got fired. They were in a breakup. So maybe they were just upset then and it wasn't actually directed at our team.
Right.
So my job is to get ahead of that, figure out what the energy is, and then kind of communicate that back to the server. And maybe I won't get to the table first, or maybe the manager won't get there first, but the server can kind of gauge that too.
Right.
And then they'll come let the manager know, hey, just so you're aware, this table might need a little bit of extra love. Can you check on them? Can you see if it's, something that's going on? And if it gets to a pretty far down or a pretty negative example, I mean, I've taken tables for servers or bartenders if for whatever reason,
Mhm.
Guest is having a bad day, guest is not getting along with the server,
Mhm.
I'll just jump in and take care of you myself.
Yeah. The communication is pretty key.
Communication.
Even more than that is emotional intelligence, being observational, seeing what's happening around you, anticipating people's needs. But the crux of it is being highly aware.
Very much so.
Yeah. So it seems like everybody at every single level has to have a certain level of emotional intelligence to be able to kind of navigate adversity in some regard.
Oh yeah, you're dealing with, tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of people with different ideas, different feelings every single day. It is a lot to manage, and you get really good really quick understanding what tables I should approach, what tables I shouldn't. Like, I'm sure everybody's gone through a fight with their significant other at a restaurant. And the worst thing ever is like
crying at the
right
table.
when you're in the emotional crux of it, right? You're sitting there across from the person and the server comes over and you're like, I just need a second. I need a second. So like gauging those things and seeing that before you approach, I can spot those tables a mile away. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to make another pass. I'm going to make another pass. Or on the opposite end of it, managing clubs and things like that, noticing people who are uncomfortable with other people approaching their table. So you have a group of, young, beautiful women, and there's a gentleman who decides that he wants to chat and talk with this table and sit down at this table. If you noticed anything about like a restaurant or a bar manager's eyes, our eyes and our face and our head is always moving. We are on a swivel. We are watching everything.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
When those sorts of conversations are going down, I used to try and get in front of it and try and get one of the girls' attention at the table, like make eye contact with them, see if they're okay. Maybe do a little like handshake, like, is everything okay? Are we feeling good?
Thank you so much for coming in.
Hello. And then do a way to sneak into the conversation and introduce myself to the gentleman and like casually pull them away from the table. And at that point, I might have my server go sneak in and have a conversation with the ladies, understand what they're thinking. She'll let me know. And then I will converse in a smart way of like, how about we go get you a drink over here? Like, and we can move them away without doing any sorts of escalation.
So distracting a child.
Well, I mean, to an extent, it absolutely is. And dealing with all those sorts of different situations and moving pieces and moving people like that.
Sounds like there's a lot of, kind of finessing to make the customer happy.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there comes a point where it's like no means no, get out.
Oh,
done. What is that? What does that look like?
I have too many stories to tell on that front. So when I was the general manager at Lazy Bird in the basement of the Hoxton Hotel a few years ago, we had quite a party on our hands there. Live music 3 nights a week. Bars open super late. It's in the basement of a hotel. It's dark.
In a hotel.
Yeah, in a hotel. So, I mean, that adds some other levels there too. But dealing with like getting people out, for me, it comes into a couple different aspects, right? One, are they impacting other guests' experience? Mm-hmm. If they are making anyone else feel uncomfortable, unsafe, unwanted, if it is anything like that, they got to go.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. If they are impacting other people's experience negatively, we need to find a nice way to end this.
And promptly. Even then, it's a nice way.
Yeah. Well, it depends to the extreme, right? Like if they're in a fight, no, they're gone. We're out the door. We're calling the cops.
Exactly.
That's over. Yeah. The other thing too now is how my team feels.
Right.
Does my team feel safe? Does my team feel comfortable? From any aspect of, are they being weird to you? Are they, saying those sorts of things? Absolutely no tolerance for it. Like if somebody touches one of my team members, you got to go. Out the door you go. Security and me are going to come have a conversation. Once again, we will do our best to do it nicely and without a scene. So that's kind of where you come in with Honey with like, hey, I think we're going to be, like wrapping this up. We're going to call it a day. And then when those get heated, a lot of times guests will be like, well, I've spent so much money here today. I've spent this. And then in a very polite way, you go, well, actually, you haven't spent anything. You're going to be taking care of your tab and you're going to be heading out for the evening.
See, that's...
And it's a good way to move them along. And then you don't have to deal with fighting over a credit card or like anything like that. If it's a serious issue, comp it out, walk them out. But it's much better to approach peacefully, because the last thing I want to do now is, oh gosh, this explodes into an actual fight, into a verbal argument. And then security has to get involved, and then everybody else's evening goes down.
Yeah.
What I want to do is come over so nicely. I'm going to have the conversation like, hey, how's it going? I think, we're done for the night. And this can be from simple as cutting somebody else off from drinking.
Yeah.
Like that happens a lot too in bars. Either they were drinking too much before they got to us, or they've been drinking somebody else's drinks downstairs or whatever else they're consuming downstairs. And you kind of have to make those decisions of, okay, we're done. I want to make sure you get home safe. One of the best tools I've ever used is like, how about I call you an Uber? Let me send you home.
Yeah.
And that is a great way of defusing, especially if they're very upset about it. Like, no, I just want to make sure you get home safe. Like, that's it. That's it. I'm trying to do it for you. And that usually takes people back, especially if they come at you very hot, very aggressive, mad. Hitting them with that kindness and be like, no, I completely understand. Let me let me manage this for you. Let me make sure that you're taken care of and we'll get you on your way. Just diffuse. And that's kind of the way you do it nicely. And now, of course, there are other experiences where there's some bad times going on at different spaces. I won't name locations, but I've seen somebody like take a bottle of champagne to the back of somebody, like swing a bottle at somebody. Okay. That's over. That's done. Violence. We got to go.
A different level of degeneracy.
That's a very different level of degeneracy. And it's interesting to deal with because alcohol makes everything
not so great.
It takes everything to the nth degree.
Yeah. Gosh, I didn't realize how, the thing is though, it's just so impressive because I feel like there's a huge psychological component that comes into disarming somebody.
Yeah.
And especially in kind of a location like a lounge where it's meant for, more consumption of alcohol versus you're at a restaurant and, you're eating and it's like a different kind of environment. So it's just, I'm sure that, is it like a kind of like a toolkit? Do they send you in with a certain toolkit or do they hire people who already have a certain level of emotional intelligence at these like levels of kind of leadership?
Yeah. I think there's two bits there. Yeah, there's definitely education that happens. So sort of like disarming and doing things with that. Like I do lead some of the education on that front at some of our properties across the group. So like when we just launched in Florida, we had a big conversation of, we launched a concept in a golf club resort. So you have like members there. So how are you dealing with people who have physical membership to the club versus your standard guests and their wants and their needs? And making sure that everybody feels well taken care of, even though, yes, you do have your membership and you do have, first way and priority and all that sort of jazz.
Right.
Yeah, we do some education there and teaching of, okay, how do we still say yes? And then the other front, we do hire people who typically can deal with very difficult situations with also like 10 different fires going on around them. There is rarely any time to actually step aside, think, plan, do these sorts of things. When bad things happen in a restaurant, you have to do them now. You have to do them quick. You have to take care of it on the spot. Maybe it's I have 2 seconds to talk to the other manager saying, hey, I'm going to go do this. We're going to play good cop, bad cop, right? I'm going to go in, be like, hey, we can't handle this. We can't do this. And then the other manager is going to go in and check in a little bit softer and smooth it over and kind of play through things. But no, we definitely hire people who are really good at just talking to other people, especially on the management side. And a lot of times with managers too, they've been servers, they've been bartenders. So they have years of experience of dealing with it. Now we just have to refine it and polish it and make sure that they're thinking more about the business, the team, and the guests versus this guest is offending me. Sometimes you have to make calls of, maybe the guest is pushing it a little bit, but it's not you got to go. And that's kind of what it turns back to management of deciding what and where,
what and where
and when and why.
Exactly. And absolutely. It seems like it's so nuanced. And I think if you're extending it to, like you mentioned, corporate, right? Because you're thinking about it from a more high level. For example, I forget whether it's the Ritz or the Four Seasons, but I think the CEO came up with this policy where each individual has a $2,000 budget to basically use to help a guest or something like that.
Yeah, to recover. If I don't remember which hotel group you're talking about myself either, which it's going to click back to me. I know exactly what you're talking about. No, like that's a legitimate thing. Kind of like just I said earlier about like the gift for like you said you like something but you didn't order it. I'm going to send it to you. Same thing. We have that same thing. If it costs less, then I'm speaking about hotels because restaurants aren't throwing around $2,000 per guest. But if I can fix it with a reasonable amount of money, great, let's do it. If a wrong dish drops and just let the guests have the dish. Right. Like if a dish hits your table, that doesn't belong to you, I should never take it back off the table. My immediate recovery would be like, oh yeah, we want you to enjoy this. This is a gift from the kitchen. This is a this is a that. As long as of course your allergies and everything.
Yeah, right.
But those are some of the pieces that kind of just fall into place there. But yeah, if it costs a certain amount of money that is nowhere near equivalent to like the room that you're talking about, the $2,000, just fix it.
Right.
Just do it. We can. We're in the business and making people happy.
Right. And I think that that is a very good point, because I think the limitation comes, especially when you're running a well-oiled machine, right? I think that if you're empowering your workers and giving them that autonomy where it's like, hey, you know what, I can resolve this conflict on my own because I have a certain budget. Let's just, versus not having that and having to kind of like check with, it's like you need to kind of create a certain amount of autonomy to be able to actually resolve a certain kind of conflict. So on a server level, but then also I'm sure at like at a restaurant level or the lounge level or the hotel level, they likely have, and I think that that creates a lot of efficiency in those spaces. So now kind of jumping over to the corporate side, I mean, I know we're talking about a lot of these like, issues have on the customer front. What does that look like on the corporate side where now you're having to deal with companies or you're having to deal with, high rollers that have a certain budget that might have like a, certain, so what does that look like?
Yeah.
And how did your experience actually with it?
Yeah. So in my role right now, I manage and oversee a lot of our corporate like client partnerships. So we have a program that's focused on booking events and things like that at the moment. So their wants and needs, of course, same thing. We want to strive to meet them. We want to make sure that they happen. Not everything is always possible, and we have to kind of work around this. And once again, it goes right back to communication. Some of the best examples that I can always think of is you have guests or corporate clients or event clients who are looking to book an event, right? Or book a large format table, let's say 12 guests, Saturday night, 7 p.m. And the table's not available. Why? It's already sold. It's already sold, and having how to communicate or express that. Or they're like, well, the minimum is too high. Why can't we just do this without food and beverage minimum, right? And one of the things that we have to always kind of run through is like, yes, we are about making people happy, but it is still a business at the end of the day. I have to ensure that your 20-person party is generating the same amount of revenue, if not a little bit more revenue, than what the 10 tables that I would have in your same section that flipped twice will generate. So that's why they're like costed that way, especially. So kind of like going through that and be like, well, very politely, I need to make sure that this is matching the same revenue that it would bring in as a standard reservation versus a large group sort of reservation. So kind of dealing with that is kind of like some of the most common ones. And then other ones, of course, are dealing with errors or mistakes or bad things that happen with the restaurant. I'm a big believer of everybody sends me, if it's one of our high profile clients, if anything goes wrong, I get an email about it the next day. First thing I do, depending on how close I am with the client, either I'll shoot them a text that morning and be like, hey, I heard some things didn't go exactly as planned last night, but I hear that, it sounds like this restaurant or that restaurant did something to fix it for you, right? They did these little things, but I would personally love to hear what happened. Can me and you get on the phone today? Can we talk about it? Can you let me know what happened? Because we're always trying to learn. We're always trying to improve. And I feel like taking that next step just to let somebody be heard, it's the biggest want for people is to be seen and be heard. And if I can give you the opportunity to genuinely express to me what went wrong or where you feel like we missed the bar, that's the best way to win people over. And I think this goes once again back to these corporate clients, to these very high profile clients, but also to standard guests. If I can pull off a successful recovery with a guest, statistically speaking, you are more likely to become a regular of mine. Yeah. It jumps from, I want to say it's John Taffer from Bar Rescues who quotes this about guests coming into the restaurant, right? You join me at my restaurant one time. The likelihood of you coming back is maybe like 25%. It takes me 4 visits of you having an amazing time with me at my restaurant with no issues for you to become an actual regular, and I'm going to start seeing you all the time. But now on the reverse of that, you could have one dining experience with me, have a bad time, but the manager, the server, the leadership team, the corporate team reaches out to you, recovers, makes you feel good, makes you feel seen, makes you feel heard. Right. I have you as a regular right there. Right. Now I have a 75% chance that you'll be returning to me, and I'll be seeing you much more often. And now I have a guest who I have a personal relationship with. It's interesting that those recoveries sometimes is the best way to really take care of people and pull them in and get like a lifelong guest.
Yeah. And then creating, I mean, that like kind of that this like the relationship is so important.
Yeah.
You know, so you were talking about like kind of logistics, right? You know, when it comes to booking a private room versus, you know, how many times can we turn over those tables? I mean, I see that from the corporate side, but then let's kind of get into certain things that I think that maybe if someone hasn't worked in the hospitality space, like they need to know.
Yeah.
Do you need to know it? Just saying. These are things you need to know. Okay. And so I'm going to just say it. When you walk into a restaurant and, you know, you ask them for a table, maybe you don't have a reservation, maybe you do, whatever, you know, and then the host takes you to maybe a table that isn't as nice looking as the one next to the window. Sure. Why can't, you know, like why can't you just sit at the one at the window?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is a couple different things behind it. Usually 9 times out of 10, you're being sat at a specific table due to the flow of the restaurant. We are trying to make sure that the servers, you know, get a new table in a even pace. Because if I seat a server with 5 guests and then I seat her again with 5 guests and I seat her again with 2 guests and I seat her again with 4 guests, all in a matter of 10 minutes, nobody's getting good service. Yeah. Nobody is having a good experience out of any of that lineup. Maybe the first table that sat down, but she's not going to get back to you in time for your next round of drinks or the next round of food. So a lot of the time it does have to deal with pacing. Servers are usually put into sections that can be anywhere from, you know, small side 2 tables up to like 8+ tables. And the restaurants are strategically managing how we are seating guests so that we can make things flow correctly. The other reasons, of course, where those tables might be privately reserved or things like that. Right. So
they're arriving in 15 minutes.
They're arriving in 15 minutes. Right. Yes, there might be open tables. This is a big one for walk-ins too. That table's free. Why can't I have it? Well, it's reserved. Somebody's showing up in 15 minutes. I don't have enough time to flip it. It might look open, right? But I guarantee you there is a guest coming for that table. And we know roughly how long you're going to dine for. Yeah. We measure all of our guest analytics, right? And I can assume that at this style of restaurant, you're going to sit down at my table for an hour and a half. The table might be open. I have somebody coming in 30 minutes. That hour and a half will run clear through that 30-minute window I have, so I can't seat you. Otherwise, I mean, sometimes there are little bits of preferences. If we have investors, if we have stakeholders, sometimes they have tables that is their table. Like that is ownership's table. And if I know they're coming in at all tonight, I'm going to make sure that that table is free. That's sometimes the other time, but that is something that guests need to know. I promise you, it is to make your service and your experience and your time with us better. And that's why we see guests the way we see guests.
I wondered during COVID when like they opened back up and it's like 2 hours. I was like, for way longer than that. And then I realized I didn't.
Oh yeah. No, that's true.
It's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, you're right.
You know. Okay. Another question.
Yes.
Does it would kind of piss me off actually if someone did this, but sometimes like you might get somebody that ordered something knowingly and then was like, I don't like it, take it back. What do you do with that? I know there's a certain budget, but then there's also a certain kind of asshole, right?
Well, no, I mean, that's fair.
There's some people that do that every single time. And it's just kind of like, you know, for me, I'm like, no, that's, I asked for this, you know, so I feel like I'm stuck with it. Or, you know, sometimes you'll get somebody that it's like, oh, you didn't have that much of it or something like that, you know, depending on the kind of restaurant. But I mean, what's the background? Like, you know, what are you doing on that side of the hospitality space?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the first couple of things that I would notice or look at is if somebody is telling me that they didn't enjoy the dish and didn't enjoy the drink, didn't whatever that, is the drink empty? Is all the food eaten?
Yeah.
Then I kind of have to talk a bit more with the guests to feel them out. Okay. I have to see if, well, I didn't like it, but my other guests ate it, right? Okay, that's fair. Like, can I get you something else? Like, At that point in time, I'm a big believer in if a guest doesn't like a dish, just take care of the guest. Just comp it off. Just take care of it. Let's do it. Let's make people happy. One extra dish on my end, losing that isn't too big of a deal as long as the whole meal isn't a waste, right?
Right.
If the guest has only had 2 bites of it, the first things I'm looking at is like, okay, so something is clearly wrong. I'm going to take that plate. I'm going to run it back to the kitchen. And I'm going to let chef know. The guest said that this was like super, super salty. Can you go back behind the line, taste all the sauces and make sure that it's not wrong? Or maybe it's a temp issue.
Right.
That's a big one with like steakhouses, right? Is there are temperatures on steaks. Everybody's opinion on those temperatures are a little bit different.
Right.
Restaurants pretty much have it down pat. Like there is a guidebook that restaurants live by about the different temps and what the feel, cool, warm center, like those sorts of things. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of the work ahead, right? So when I'm explaining a steak to a guest, we serve our medium rare with a cool, warm center. Is that okay with you?
Interesting.
Maybe they think medium rare still needs to be like hotter in the center, and they'll be like, no, I need it up a little bit. I was like, okay, great. Then we will bring you one of our medium steaks. That's just how we serve our medium. So getting ahead of those things and not dealing with those sorts of errors is kind of always like the best, is jumping ahead of those things. We know what things typically come up as issues. So we train our teams to get ahead of that. If somebody's looking for a drink and I know that it's one of the sweeter or more fruit forward drinks in it, and I'll ask, I was like, do you prefer like a sweeter cocktail? Do you prefer something that's stirred? Do you prefer something that's like this? And I can kind of guide you. So everything is about also educating and sharing with your guest.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you don't like it, we're going to take care of it. We're going to make sure you're happy.
Yes.
But the work on the server, the bartender, and the manager is to get you what you want before that you know that you want it.
Right.
And that's kind of the name of the game.
Yes. But also, I will quickly add this caveat. This happens in nice restaurants.
Oh, yes.
It's not, I don't know if it's going to happen at Denny's. Like, I kind of feel like maybe it won't, but it could.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a budget. I don't know.
Yeah. No, maybe that's possible.
Olive
too.
Garden. I don't know. Okay. So that's cool. So now I'm like, which one do I ask him? Because I have 2.
Okay.
I'll do the host's one first, and then I'll deal with you have to remind me. So is it true that restaurants hire really attractive people to be hosts?
Do we specifically hire attractive people to work the door? No, we don't specifically hire attractive people to work the door. Typically, the host stand role, right, is usually filled with more junior level employees. Sometimes it's a lot of college level people. So there's a little bit of youth that's existing there. I won't say that, some restaurants that I've known will sometimes contact or like call modeling agencies and be like, hey, do any of your models need some like hours? You want to pick something up? So, I mean, to that extent, I mean, it is not specifically said anywhere that we are hiring attractive people to work the door.
The incidence is high, though, I will say.
Yes. I mean, there's probably a little bit of something in play there. But no, is there a policy that specifically says beautiful people have to work the door?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But typically the people who are applying for those roles are people who are just,
Happen to be,
or they're just, looking for a quick part-time job. Hosts are usually filled with those college girls, college boys, so young, youth, bright, that sort of energy, and that's kind of what we're looking for. And also, once again, people who are personable.
Yeah.
That when you walk in the door, I go, "Hi, it's great to meet you." So people might also look more attractive just because they're treating you nice.
Actually, you know what? That's so true, because it's like I feel like it's the energy of the human as well. I mean, I think there's times where you might meet somebody and they're attractive, but they're even more attractive because they have like a certain kinds of personality.
Yeah.
But that said, I mean, think about somebody working in security. Are you hiring them because they're big? It just so happens that people who are strong and know that they need to be in a situation where they need to kick somebody's butt if needed.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. I mean, that is absolutely
kind of
fair.
putting it out there just to kind of, noodle up on it a little bit. But all right. So then my other question is that, they say that you can really understand and know somebody based off of there's a few experiences that you might have, like, either you travel with them or you have a problem with them or you see how they treat a waiter or a waitress,
yeah.
So
Absolutely.
like, do you think, like, what does that look like? I mean, because there are people that come in, they're like, hey, go do this. Versus we were just watching that video where it's like, can I have the check whenever you get a moment? Like, and so tell us what the secret language is to be communicating well, that basically somebody is not going to, and this is something I'm just saying, I don't think it happens in any of the restaurants that you work in, or maybe all restaurants, and it's like a health issue or whatever. But I mean, I have said to people before where I've noticed it's like, you're not a nice person, like, why are you treating her like that? She's going to go spit in your food.
Oh, yeah.
and then they're like, oh, and then they're nice every other time after that, because you realize that that's somebody that is, do you think that you're putting out some sort of like, unpleasant behavior, so tell us what that looks like on your end.
Yeah, I do want to start by addressing that nobody's going to spit on your food.
Yes.
Or they absolutely shouldn't be spitting on your food.
Yes.
But how you treat the people who are taking care of you will absolutely, impact your whole dining experience. If you are being courteous, you're being kind, you're being nice. We notice as soon as you walk in the door. I mean, even the host team is kind of gauging you. Like I mentioned earlier too, like the manager is gauging and watching people. If I see that you're coming in happy and you're being nice and you're like thanking the host stand and like you're talking nicely with the server, or like, be patient, take your time. Like if you say that to me, like, yeah, no worries. Yeah, you can get my drink when you can. No rush, no pressure. That is only going to benefit your experience. Because genuinely, once again, we hire people who like to take care of people. And if you're having a good time and I see you're having a good time and you're also treating me and my team well, there's a good chance I'm going to stop by and send a little love. There's been so many times that I've had servers come over to me and be like, this couple is great. Can we give them something? Can we give them a little love? So and we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's take care of them. I would love to meet them. And, the server will give me a little tidbit of information. They just came back from Napa. They were just doing like wine tours, and maybe I'll come over and be like, yeah, which vineyards did you visit? And just kind of bring up the conversation there. At the very end of the night, a nice little surprise. You go back. They told you what vineyard they were at. You bring a glass of wine from that vineyard. You tie the whole thing together, and now you have a lifelong regular. So it really, truly is how you treat the people who are taking care of you. It's the golden rule. Treat people how you want to be treated. If you are nice and with honey off the bat, I can almost guarantee you that you will have a better dining experience.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people think that, no, I have to be stern and I have to be microman. They're going to get it wrong, It's just kind of they're creating their own experience.
For sure. Yeah.
Here's another question.
Yes.
And these are kind of like just the ones that I'm just shooting off, which I've always kind of certain restaurants that you go into.
Yes.
Can be kind of intimidating.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that the essence of it? Kind of like you go to a stylist and their job is to tell you how bad you dress. Is that like basically like, what is it kind of like, what is it? What is that?
I think there's a lot of different cultural choices based in the restaurant space on this too. Yeah. I will maybe point a little finger to our East Coast friends, like New York, for example.
New
York, not in a bad way, not in a bad way.
I'm a New Yorker.
No, not in a bad way, but like you have different forms of hospitality there too. You're typically the restaurants that are really, really hard to get into. Sometimes you will get that energy or that attitude from the door. Yeah. Especially if you don't have a reservation. That is a tricky one in New York. There's a different energy on that. I can't speak to it because I don't coach or teach as much really in New York. So I'm not in a place where I'm like, okay, guys, let's just be damn nice, guys. Yeah. Like, let's be nice, please. But it's the essence. There is definitely a bit of it of, I guess, like fashion too, right? Like, or like going to different design things. Like, do you belong at? I mean, sometimes that happens. Yeah. Some places do act that way. It's not a place that I tend to find myself at. I'm much more in the place of, let's have a good time. Like, let's eat, let's drink, let's have good conversations, let's be merry. Like, that's more my experience. But no, there is definitely places that have this energy of, oh no, Yeah.
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 But
That
we're-
is
yeah.
real.
But that's also, and to the point of the East Coast, I mean, it's also the way that they treat. You go to the hospital there, basically, they're going to treat you like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was going through the toll booth.
Yeah.
And my dad asked for directions, and the toll lady yelled at him for asking for
yikes.
directions.
Yeah.
So that's like a New York thing, you
Yeah.
know? And I would just like to.
And I want to be clear. I love New York. New York food is
saying, no, there's
fantastic.
weird. That's not
Culturally,
even.
our
No.
house stands are
Yeah,
a little bit
It's a
different.
culture, and the Midwest certainly there is a culture, you know. But it's
Yeah.
kind of funny because they have what do they say is that there was a kind of like a quadrant thing,
Yes.
you know, across there's a map of the U.S. or whatever, and they have one where it's like New York, mean but nice,
Yes.
and then they have one, you know, other things like nice but then they have one for California, and it's like nice but mean because they're so nice.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
internally, it might be something
Internally, it
different going
might be
on.
a little different.
But again, it's the culture of the environment that you're in as well. So I think that really has a lot to do with it. Okay, and we're going to kind of wrap up in a little bit, but this is the last topic that I do want to discuss is mainly like, I mean, you think about technology, and, you know, I talk a lot about technology in general. I'm techie myself, but like basically in hospitality, over time, I'm sure that there are so many differences when it comes to the way people have received the tech, right? They're sitting at the bar. Before, people used to go to the bar to expect a conversation because it's kind of social. But now it's like head down, you know, looking at the phone. I mean, I think at least for me, there was a pope that was, there was like a Time magazine article that came out a long time ago, and it was one of the popes got, you know, what do they call it? Inaugurated? What do they call it? I'm not, you know, but something. What was
Something.
it? Yeah, he got there
Yeah, he
basically,
got there, yes.
and there was a ceremony. I think what is it? I have to look it up. But so that Time magazine picture was people were holding candles and they were looking at the pope. Then there was a second pope that came in, and then the Time magazine article was everyone holding their phone.
Yeah.
And within that time span was such a massive difference. So I'm wondering what that looks like in terms of hospitality, how you're seeing, I'm sure you're noticing, like the pickup culture, the dating scene, you know, basically people, how does that affect? And I know you do some consulting with, you know, these tech companies as well. Tell us what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think it is definitely changing the space. I think it in a handful of different ways. Yeah. You also have this huge push on like social and everything too. And I fall victim to that. I love my food photos, right? I love to show where I'm dining and things like that. So I definitely play into that, but I also see that also benefits the businesses.
Right.
Like that is potentially pulling in an additional audience to them. So I for sure get that. But no, like what you're talking about, dining or like sitting at the bar and sitting on your phone. You're going to miss conversations, either with people on the left and the right of you or the people behind the bar. Honestly, especially like if you're traveling, you're solo traveling, I would strongly recommend put your phone down, talk to the bartender.
Oh.
They are going to give you the best recommendations of where you need to go, where you need to drink, who you need to see, who you need to know to get in the door.
Oh.
And they'll like get you taken care of. The amount of times that I have done travel and I've just sat down and been like, hey man, I don't know, you know, this is my first time here. I don't know where to go for the rest of the night. Where do you like to go? And I promise you will find some incredible hidden gems, because these people who are bartenders, right? They're the expert in the craft, and they're not going to go somewhere to drink unless the drinks are really good, or it's something that they would consume or make themselves. And once again, too, it's a very small industry.
Right.
If I say I know Chris from here and Chris sent me to here, there's a good chance that bartender at the other bar they sent me to is like, oh yeah, you know, Chris, here you go, have a shot. Like, and it just kind of goes and goes and goes, and they can plan out your whole weekend for you. So
100%.
I would say having conversations with the bartender is going to help you immensely.
Absolutely. I was in Austin for a hearing once, and basically I was just by myself solo. I had 24 hours there. I'm like, I feel like doing stuff. So I asked a bartender, like, you know, what should I be eating? So basically he gave me like 9 restaurants of, you know, like, and I challenged myself to go to each one and have either like an appetite, like food or a drink at each. And it was It was a night to remember, I will say.
Yeah, it
was a night to remember, but it was fun, and I think that all of those recommendations were amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of dating though, now,
Yes.
like you're seeing the server side, and I'm hearing so much time and time again in this entire like dialogue is that they're very attentive.
Yeah.
There's so much attention that is being given, just understanding like the nuances. I don't even realize they realize it before you even realize it, which is something that is really incredible.
I mean, I know if your date is going bad. I know if your Tinder date is going bad and you want to leave.
Okay.
We're just not having a good time. Like we can tell.
Tell us what that looks like.
Well, this is just a personal piece of information too. If you're having a conversation at the bar, even if you're being quiet, we can hear you.
Oh.
We know what you're talking about. Like I need to share that now, especially if you're a bartender, you're standing behind that bar.
Pretend not to like.
Oh no,
like
of
you're
course, no.
listening, or
You're polishing glass. You're making other people's drinks. Well,
but you can hear it.
You do get a lot of good tea at the bar.
Oh, my God.
You get a lot of good tea at the bar. It's an interesting look into people's lives like that. But like, yeah, the dating scene. I mean, I feel like it's tricky. Meeting people.
Hold on, before we move on, let's.
I gotta go back to this one. I gotta get in trouble. Okay.
Now I'm thinking back to like, oh, wait a minute. So, is there like a certain time where it gets to like maybe you've had X amount of drinks and you just expect that someone's gonna get ratchet or something, or like,
I mean,
do you expect something like where you're like, oh, this person's going to open up. Oh, but this person is by themselves. They weren't even making eye contact before, but like, you know what? Now they've had a few drinks.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've definitely seen a bit of that too, and sometimes even funny enough, as being the person behind the bar, you can even borderline be a matchmaker.
Oh.
I have seen that. I have partaken in helping that it happen.
You facilitated that.
Facilitated that as well.
More people facilitate things like that.
I don't know, but it is a real thing where like you'll notice like people trying to talk, or they like scurry away, or sometimes a girl might like approach the bar or approach, like a bartender, or even in my case, like the manager being like, I've noticed you talking to that person over there. Like, who is that person?
Oh, wow.
Sometimes people are forward, and that's honestly like the best too. On the flip end, though,
tell that to the camera. That's how you can hook up with people.
Okay, well, yeah. If you want to meet people, talk to the bar. But like on the reverse side too, I feel like there's some important things to consider, because like guys will, send drinks all the time. If a guy is trying to send a girl a drink, I feel like it is usually safer for me to approach the ladies first and ask. This gentleman over here wants to send you a drink. Do you want the drink or not?
Right. Right.
And that can also like mitigate a lot of things, and I can keep it from being weird or awkward that way too. Where I go back to the guy, I'm like, hey, they're good for right now. They really appreciate it. It's really nice, and you can kind of like do it that way. But like, no, if they want the drinks, then it's great. I'll be like, yeah, come on over with me, man. I'll bring the tray and I'll introduce you and be like, yeah, this is Joe Schmo. He shot you over a round of tequila for you. I hope you guys all enjoy, and like play a little bit of matchmaker there too.
How about when they only want the drink but not the guy?
Well, if they just want the drink, you can also tell us that too. If you just want the drink, just say yes, I'll have the drink.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers. And that's okay too. I mean, we see that more than the other two.
Oh, interesting. Awesome. Okay, well, that's interesting. So there's a lot of facilitating happening.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting space, and I feel like I can ask you so many more questions.
Or, well, never mind. I'm not going.
No. That's
no.
That last one. Just give us that last nugget.
Well, okay. I'll give you the last nugget. I was going to say, also, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, I know. I think it just goes along the line of like being nice with your bartender. And yeah, of course, you are more than welcome to attempt to flirt with the bartender, but you also have to understand that 90% of the time when the bartender is flirting back with you,
they want a tip.
They want to, yeah, it is for the sales. It is for the sales. We're going to be nice, but like, realistically, you're going to have a pretty hard time picking somebody up who's working behind the bar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. This has
I don't know
been
where I went
such
with
no, but it's this, yes, chances are if you're at their place of work,
Yeah.
and tips are involved, then, hospitality.
Gotta make your money.
All right. Well, amazing. Well, okay. I could ask you so many more. Honestly, it's just, there's so much more. And I think that is really important because people that are not in these spaces, maybe you've worked in other industries,
Yeah.
right? But hospitality is certainly one of those industries. We're always eating. People are out. And as much as technology is coming in, AI, all of this stuff, you're still going to want to go someplace and have a good time and interface with human beings. That's at the end of the day, it's not going anywhere. And to be honest, I think that yes, in terms of efficiency, bring in the tech, but that human experience is so essential, and we need to have it.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons why I don't think I'm truly worried about like the hospitality industry, because these days we are investing and focusing so much on tech and AI and all these things that are like pulling us farther apart. Like social media, right? Like you're not sitting down and like being in front of your friends. And I feel like hospitality is going to be okay because it's one of the places that you can still be in front of people. I know a lot of us are tired with all of the technology, everything being put in front of you. Go down, go have a nice meal, even go by yourself, go sit, go people watch, be around other people. I think hospitality is going to look different, but overall, that industry, I think, is going to be fine. Yeah, you could say there's going to be serving robots.
But that's not going to.
You're going to be there with people.
And people want the experience.
Exactly. People want to be seen. People want to be heard. People want to be taken care of. So I think hospitality is going to keep on going.
Absolutely. And especially with all these efficiencies and, all these jobs maybe going away.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that time?
No, I mean, that's true. Come dine. Come eat more with me. That's great. That's great. Yeah.
All right. Well, amazing. Aiden, this has been such an enlightening conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's been a great time chatting with you as well.
Yeah, great. Awesome. That
Appreciate
was good. Yay.